all the skills you need to pass the test.
You need to study.
Which is really rare. So it's sort of
Yeah.
Otherwise you take,
I heard that it's really expensive to get a GED.
that it's really what?
Really expensive to get a GED.
Mm.
I don't know.
People tell me that all the time.
$25.
$25.
And something like that.
She made the face.
Not a lot.
But it depends on your definition of a lot, guys. It depends on your definition of a lot.
You don't have
It don't
money,
take
that's
a long
why.
time.
Well, I'm Antonia, and, well, someone told me one time that GED doesn't really equal high school diploma, and high school is better. I think you only get in the military, but I don't want to get in the military, so I guess I don't care.
But it could be like, high school might be better, so much for them.
Well, yeah, that feeling of it's not equivalent to the high school diploma,
It's all right.
waste of time.
No money, nowhere to live. If I go get my GED.
Yep, absolutely, I need some now. Anything else you want to add on there?
Can't pass the test.
Can't pass the test, good point. Yes, you can, Roxy, don't say that about yourself. Oh, wait, rewind. You're right, maybe you can pass the test. It's tricky, I'm telling you, but you want the brain to keep moving and working. We'll worry about all that in a minute. Let's go to number 2. Culinary Arts School, Job Corps, some disadvantages to that. Antonios and Antonias,
I have to leave.
I have to move.
yeah, have to leave, like move.
No pot, no
Oh, yeah, I
alcohol.
have to be sober.
That has kept more than one of you.
I have to listen to somebody tell me what to do all day.
The class thing again, right?
Can't you get your high school diploma through job corps?
Yes.
Yes, you can. And or you. Anything else for going to culinary school? Takes so long.
It's gonna be hard.
Yeah. This is where, like, if this is our number one thing we want them to do, it'd be hard for us not to throw those in, right? Well, you know, though, yeah, it would be hard, but it is your goal. You know, it would be hard, but then you learn how to cook. It would be hard, but then you might be able to, you see, it's really easy. Right here, we see it because we're talking about it. When you're talking with youth, and you're just kind of rolling and going, it's really easy not to jump in right here because we want to boost those disadvantages.
So-
People, if they, in the process, think about advantages while they're thinking about disadvantages.
If
You know
the
what I
youth
mean?
are doing it,
Right.
let's keep going. Let's
That'd be
write it
awesome.
down. But if we don't want to do it, then thank you, Jill, for pointing that out. Because they'll do that all the time, it's fine. Right?
Oh, what I heard you say is keep our butt out of it.
Yeah. But. Any other disadvantages to culinary arts school we want to put up there, Antonio or Antonia? And the last one is free job disadvantages.
Something they don't really want to do.
Want to do, yep.
Probably won't pay you
Not allowed to pay.
Be stuck.
That's
Get
what I was
up
about to
early
say,
in the
you'll get
morning.
stuck in it, yeah, stuck in a rut.
Yeah, it just doesn't mean there's not much mobility or ladder.
Yeah.
It's too easy just to
Man,
get
it's
out
in
and
the
just
morning.
keep doing it.
Especially after I could afford
More substances. People won't look at me.
Doesn't
Same.
bring you closer.
There are people that look at me the same as if I went to school.
Doesn't bring you closer to my dream.
Yeah. Now, we all know what the next step is, right? What's the next step after disadvantages? Advantages and disadvantages.
Pick one.
Pick one. Solutions. We're not going to dive into that because we're not attached to any of this. Okay? It's not going to be a real situation. Because when you're attached to it, it's a whole different world. come and tell you, I'm gonna go culinary school, because I don't have to do any of that work. Okay? So here's where, before you go into solution anyway, we would want to review it with them, right? We can go back and say, okay, let's just review it real quick. You let me know that the advantages of the GED is this and this, you know, and the disadvantages are this and this and this and this and this. And culinary school is this and this, you know, just back and forth. You're just saying, matter of fact, this is just review it, okay? And then you could ask them, at this time is when you could ask them.
Hey, well, did you know that, you know, you got to get a stipend, I guess, if you complete the job for it?
Yeah. Here's some things, and what I really put out is, here's some things that I know about culinary school. Here's some things I know about stepping into the entry-level job or getting your GED. And then asking them, before you put anything down, you still ask them, you know, getting a stipend, do you feel like this would be an advantage or a disadvantage or something you're not really worried about writing down at all? Okay? It's still up to them where they put it.
Or if they put it on.
Or if they put it on there. Right. And so we don't need to go back through that process, I don't feel like, but I wanted you to know that that's where you would do it. And again, thank you, Libby, by the way. And again, where's my little clicker for Libby? Because I really appreciate you doing that. There we go, there's another one. Okay, so this is really where in the process, before you can get to the solution, you want to go back and be able to put those pieces in. It's really hard. It doesn't mean like you absolutely cannot say anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that we don't want to be putting our input in there and lose the youth's voice. Because youth automatically, if there's anything I work with in the beginning when I'm working with youth, is bringing down that wall that I'm not another adult just telling them what to do. I'm not going to just tell you what you should do for your future. Even if I'm not doing that, I'm already, in the beginning, working against that typically with a young person. It's a natural kind of thing that will sit there until they realize that that's not what this situation is about. Okay? So when we start, even with culinary school, maybe you didn't have much to say about GED because they hit it on the nail, right? From everything you know. Then you get to culinary school and all of a sudden you're really talkative. Right? Well, just in that specific situation, that has the potential to say, well, maybe they're more interested in the fact of me going to culinary school. So if I really want to earn, you know, Leanne or Roxy, whoever's, you know, respect, then maybe I'll act like that's the one I really want to do. Where if we just let them kind of go through the process and we're just asking them the questions, we can still add those questions. We don't want to be silent. We don't want to not offer anything we have to offer, right? We want to put those options out there. We still want to give them the power to choose advantage, disadvantage, that type of thing. Going through that process, any further questions on SOTUS as a whole? SOTUS process as a whole. Jeannie?
In this example we just did, we looked at a situation and we looked at options, but then what's his priority? You know, because like his options are pretty different.
Yeah, they can be.
Yeah, I kind of feel like we skipped that
Yeah.
step. What's the most important thing for him right now? Because it looks like he's gonna lose his housing if he
Yeah.
doesn't start working.
Yeah. And we'd want to identify, and it was really hard because he's not sitting in front of us to ask, but we definitely, and it's a good point, because we definitely wanted to identify that. Because maybe, even though we can see as clear as day that homelessness is a big issue, he might not care. He's already been couch surfing his entire life.
That's couch plan to surf on.
Yeah, exactly. He might already have that all planned out. He wants a job. And so, but we don't want to miss the fact, like you said, we want to figure that kind of piece out at the beginning. And it's really hard to just totally nail down the situation in this particular, with the way we're interacting with this story without him sitting there. Because when you're talking to somebody, it's a lot easier. You can ask those clarifying questions. So thanks for bringing that up. Any other questions or comments about the SOTUS process? Useful tool?
Yeah.
Something that you've done parts with already with young people? No, I'll just put that one on there for the last piece. So, what do you guys read here? I don't need to read to you. next section, which is going to be our final piece. Looking back on today, talking about rationales, talking about Viva teaching and SOTAs, what are some of the things that stand out to you about these processes? What are some of the things that you learned today that you want to try? So basically, I'm just thinking about training. Really, what today did you either learn or stood out to you or was interested into you, or something you think like that would never work? Yeah. Go home and do it with you, yeah.
Because I hear him pushing and is pushing her back, and so now I'm saying, okay, yeah, I've got some time left, but let's really look at these options that you have been making the back ones.
Putting the control back on her shoulder. And it's going to take a little bit for her to believe that that's what you're doing, so don't get discouraged in that. Just keep doing it. Because the first initially she's going to be like, yeah, right, not sure it's a different interaction. I just throw that out there. Don't be scared.
And I thought it doesn't have to happen right then. You don't have to come up with the ending, whatever right then solution. It could give them time to think about it, come up later, and next week, whatever, their pace.
Yeah.
This is their pace.
Your face, yeah. Very joy.
Empowering.
Empowering. Absolutely. What else?
I can see it could be difficult with the client that doesn't want to be a client.
Well, really, and I think it's real important that as whatever the work group, the team that's around that youth, and the skills trainer, particularly who's working directly with that youth, that we're going to fall back on strengths discovery, and we're going to have to really look at how we're communicating this process to them. Because there's sometimes they don't have a choice. I think of it, our transitional living program, they didn't have a choice. It was part of a requirement for them to have a home. I always thought it was really hard for me to do, by the way. But it was part of our federal requirement. They had to do these plans. And so initially, when I'm telling somebody, this is, this plan is for you, this plan is about you and your future, and they're going, but you made me come in here, or I lose my house. I mean, that's a big thing, right, to start with. So I'm kind of starting behind the curve a little bit because that's the process we're working. That was the process we were working with. It just meant I had to do more strengths discovery. You're right. I mean, I just don't just tell you the truth. Like, yeah, that's the program that we're in. This is where we're at. This is a requirement for you to meet with me every week. Now, what we do at this time, we're going to put it back for you. This is a time you can utilize kind of whatever future you want to plan it. And really, it might take 2 to 3 sessions for them to really, our times together, to really believe that you're not just trying to make them do something just because, but that they can really drive what that process is. And so, as much as you can really highlight them having choice during that period of time will help with those situations. It does make you it's different than when the youth comes in and goes, hey, Leanne, I would like to do that thing, on the paper, I don't know the name of it. The future that my friend did, okay? It's a little bit different there, but still, the minute you start talking as an adult, you're still having to make sure that you're not in the way of them thinking you're telling them what to do.
And another one of the adults.
Yep. Another one they don't just tell them what to do. Their whole goal is to be independent, right? And an individual. So the more that we're telling them what to do and how to do it, we're taking away the very goal that they are developmentally trying to be. Right? It's not that they hate us. Sometimes we wonder if they hate us. Anything else that stood out from what we've done so far today? Okay, so we're going to need a little bit of energy for this last part to be beneficial. So I want to do a 10-minute break, get something to drink, move around a little bit, whatever you need, and then we're going to come back together. And when you come back together, I'd like you guys to get together in your work groups. So, Feather Research Center, the Hanson House, we'll go ahead and do clinicians, I think, as a work group specific, and community mental health. And the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to talk specifically about how this can work within your day-to-day working in your program. So, get to stretch your